During a recent conversation on a Destiny live stream on YouTube, content creator Devin, Nash, and Destiny's business partner, Dan, engage in a thought-provoking discussion on various aspects of the business world.
Reddit is fun, yeah.
Yeah, it's I don't know. I feel like, is it all this Elon's fault? Like, did he like show the way and all these other companies like, oh yeah, let's do that. That sounds good.
I think that Elon proved that you could drop your total employee count by like 50 to 70% and like run a bare bones service and then increase user engagement. And then a lot of CEOs were like, okay, I can give that a shot. But that said, I do also think that and I know you are going to probably hard agree with this. Like, I do also think that we're entering an era where companies are getting smarter and realizing that there were a lot of PMs and middle managers and people that were getting way overpaid to do absolutely jack shit. And like, I think that that's also reflecting in like those people going away. And some of the people that actually did the real work are getting caught in the crossfire. And that might be why we're seeing like a drop in quality, you know?
One thing I didn't look into this too much, but I've heard stories, or read stories, I should say, that Twitter is like stopping paying a lot of like contracts they have, like tech contracts, they just stop paying. Apparently they stopped paying entirely for their San Francisco office. Like, how does that work? Twitter is a company that has assets. Aren't these people literally just going to sue Twitter and be like, hey, you now owe us $1 billion or whatever it is? And that's pretty cut and dry, isn't it? Like, what is the strategy behind not paying these bills like this for a company that isn't close to bankruptcy? Like, I understand if you're like on bankruptcy, that's what you do, right? Like, if you're Bed Bath & Beyond or something, I'm not paying anyone. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. You can fight over the 6 trash bags and, throw pillows that are left, and that's it. But like, this is Twitter. There's still assets there,
There is
it
but
possible
I wonder.
Could you force a renegotiation or something rather than?
Yeah, or you could like hold that in litigation for so long it doesn't become profitable. I think there's got to be some way that, or they're just not thinking about it. Like, man, like I don't like really know what Elon's plan for Twitter ultimately is. Like, I think he believes that he can make it profitable, but
is there a live stat of how many people are subscribed to Twitter Blue? Like, is anyone aggregating that number from like kind of public?
Well, maybe
data?
if you pay $500,000 a month for Twitter's API, they'll give it to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, they shut down that was really annoying. They shut down their API. We were one of the companies affected by that because we were using it to pull results from our campaigns. Now we have to do it manually.
It's interesting to me, like when Twitter, for instance, like just the real estate thing, like, hey, we're not going to pay the lease in our San Francisco office anymore. Like, if you're the owner of that office space, you just say, oh, okay, I'll sue you for the entirety of the lease that you have remainder, and you're on the hook for that lease. It's not like, oh, well, I might have to pay 1 or 2. Like, you are on the hook. That's what a lease is. Like, you promise to pay for the duration of that lease. I just don't see what he has to gain stopping paying that. Like, I would hold that if I was a landlord. But I guess if you're down bad and you need the money now, maybe. But I don't see that being the case with someone who's going to own one of those massive San Francisco buildings down there.
Well, aren't those guys getting crushed under like occupancy rates, and like don't they have like a lot of problems they have to worry about? Like maybe there's so many people that are pulling out of those contracts. Or like,
you know what I read is speaking of that, there's a pretty somewhat famous hotel in San Francisco. I think it's called Park 55, PARC, and the people who owned it basically had 50% equity in it, and the other half was like a bank loan, right? Okay, and they just gave it up. They're like. And they just gave it to the bank. Imagine giving up like $400 million just because you can't do anything. Like, that's mental to me. They literally just said, "Here, I'm not making mortgage payments on it. Here you go. Good luck." Just like that. Nuts, dude.
It's these work from homers. We got to get them back in the office.
Absolutely, I agree. your time is over. Done. Man, dude. Office space right now. I feel like if I had a lot more money to spend, I would seriously consider doing that, because right now the deals are mental that you can get for buying office building. It's not a joke, right?
Yeah, but do you really think are we really going back?
Yeah, that's my question. I
don't know. I don't know. It's like a huge. It's like the Warren Buffett thing.
San Francisco. I think that's a failed project. That is a show. Oh my god! And that's where a lot of this office space is. Like, yeah, I don't know if we're coming back.
I don't know. There's a lot of people who say, I'm never going back to work again. Well, I mean, you'll have to if there's no work at home jobs.
Oh, that's true.
Like,
Twitter,
like it's not your call.
Twitter didn't pay Google on hosting.
What's that? You cut out?
Jesus.
Your mic's breaking up completely.
No.
Yeah, you're roboting.
It's not. You're lying. Twitter.
Okay.
Twitter didn't pay Google either, and they got like their hosting got as well, right?
That was another thing I read, that the reason that we had this rate limit the other day is apparently Twitter's Google Cloud bill was due on the 1st of July, and they just didn't do it. So it's like, all right, well, I guess we're gonna have to try to run this shit on a GeoCities account. All right, everyone gets 1 page view a day. Do not overload it. Oh man, the real estate thing is super interesting. It's a huge, huge gamble. Like an office building that would have cost, let's say, $100 million in 2015 in San Francisco, right now is like a $20 million building, right? It's not easy to convert these into residential, which would be the natural thing to do, right? Because just the plumbing's not there. You're spending a huge amount of money trying to do that type of stuff. So, like, that's not an option. So you really have to pray for work in the office coming back. And I don't know how much of it will or not. It's a huge gamble. So yeah, but I mean, there's a lot of money to make. If it does come back and you buy this shit, you're 5xing your money in a few years. And if it doesn't,
yeah,
the question is how much lower does it go?
Right?
Yeah. Oh man.
I think it has to become clear to companies if it really is more effective to work remotely or vice versa or not. And the jury's pretty much still out on that. There's been a couple of studies that were done that actually showed throughout the first year of the pandemic that people became more productive. But man, I can't reason with that. I can't figure that out. Like, I don't know why that would be true.
There's also the question of how many jobs can be work from home, right? I mean, not all of them, obviously. Most of them can't. Most of them are going to be in some either manual, I don't want to say manual labor, but there's a lot of jobs that's just not like, oh, I can do this from a computer. It's like you're out there fixing a car or, slinging burgers or whatever the fuck it is. Like, these are not going to be work from home jobs ever. But as far as office space thing, I don't know. It all is going to come down to trend from employers. There's a billion people in chat right now. They're saying, I will never go back into the office, so help me God. And the simple answer is you will. If you can't find a decent paying job that lets you be working from home, then you will. Or you'll just be homeless, I guess. Like that, it's not your choice. What you're saying is, I very much want to work from home. And I feel
but it'll depend on, like, if talented devs and shit are like, I'm working from home and I'm just not going to work for your company if you want me to come to the office, it might be forcing people back to the office is a losing move, right?
I mean, who's going to play... who's going to be chicken first on that? I don't know. That's an unknown thing. I feel like there's too much power imbalance there, and the companies are going to win.
It might be maybe chat's referring to something different because I've read a lot about this, which like this feeling of like I just am not going to participate in this service based, like, to get these like you said, burger slinging type jobs. That maybe people just like feel like they just are not going to participate in that, and that's like the whole our anti-work movement and everything like that. Where like people just don't want, and we're seeing that across like, man, like look at like airlines, right? Like look at like airports and stuff like that. Like nobody wants to be a traffic controller, nobody wants to be a gate agent, stuff like that. Like there's so many service-based industries that are struggling to hire. You know what I think about every day is like, how is it that anybody can afford anything? I literally think about this every day. Like, inflation has gone up so much, rent is so high, food is so high, credit card debt is at an all-time high, and nobody's working.
Wait.
How's this?
You're getting the cart before the horse a little bit. Everybody's working. That's the issue right now. Unemployment is very, 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 very low. We just don't have enough people to work all the jobs. That's why there's so many openings.
So there's like, we physically just don't have the humans?
Yes.
Really? That's the problem?
Yeah, this is what everybody's been talking about for 10 years about, like, the baby boomers finally retiring, and COVID was probably the push for it. We just don't have enough people to work with it. Our unemployment is like 3.2%. It's like absurdly low. But we just don't have the human capital right now to work the jobs as the older people all start to age out.
So it's not that people don't want service jobs, it's that we just literally don't have enough people to work them?
Yeah.
Wow, I never knew this.
It's also partially why I think we're not seeing interest rates having the effect that they hoped that they would by raising them for the bank. It's just there's a threshold, right? Like so when to be broad about this is very, very broad. It's like 4-year-old style. interest rates I'm talking about here is essentially what percentage would a bank spend to borrow money from the government, right? Mm-hmm. Essentially, that's what we're talking about. And it's not having the effect, because at the end of the day, even if that amount is 6,000%, right? Which would be ridiculous. But even if that number was really high, at the end of the day, Devin...
The convivial rendezvous betwixt Devin, Nash and Destiny's esteemed consort, Dan, on the hallowed live stream of Destiny, brims with a kaleidoscope of ruminations on the business realm. Verily, their colloquy traverses the corridors of Elon Musk's influencer web, pondering whether he, like a Pied Piper of profitability, led other enterprises down the path of streamlining their operations and engendering heightened user engagement. The exchange delves into the shifting tides of corporate discernment, with Nash propounding the notion that a pantheon of preening project managers and lackadaisical loafers has been purged from the echelons of corporate power. Yet, amidst this paring down, the Inquisitor's muse on the potential lamentable repercussions, wherein the diligent foot soldiers of industry may suffer collateral damage, leading to a lamentable diminution in the quality of A-grade output. The discourse takes an audacious leap into the quagmire of Twitter's alleged non-payment of contractual obligations and the ceaseless echoes of unpaid leases. Nash and Dan, with furrowed brows, grapple with the strategic rationale behind such actions, casting aspersions upon Twitter's mettle and the legal ramifications that may inexorably ensue from their disregard of fiscal commitments. The conversation meanders through Elon Musk's inscrutable machinations vis-a-vis Twitter, evoking contemplation on his grand design to transmute the blue bird into a profitable venture. Alas, the sages lament the dearth of publicly available metrics measuring the flock of Twitter Blue subscribers, leaving their curiosity unsatiated. The disconnection of Twitter's API, a travesty of cosmic proportions, becomes the focal point of chagrin for our interlocutors. They bemoan the irksome transition from automated campaign results to the grim realm of manual labor, like Sisyphus doomed to toil with an endless boulder. The dialogue expands, enmeshing itself in the intricate tapestry of lease non-payment and the imbroglio it begets. Nash and Dan, their visages aflame with incredulity, exclaim in unison the immutable nature of leases, wherein one must honor their financial obligations lest the specter of litigation looms large. The realm of San Francisco's real estate market beckons, tantalizing our sage companions with tantalizing prospects. The precipitous decline in office building prices incites fervor and contemplation, for it presents a promising venture with a potential quintupling of one's investment within a mere span of years. Yet, cautionary words unfurl upon the air, for the future of traditional offices hangs precariously in the balance, like a tightrope walker traversing a tempestuous abyss. The subject matter delves into the complicated processes involved in transforming office buildings into homes. Nash and Dan warn against unbridled enthusiasm because the complicated plumbing and enormous costs involved could make this project impossible. Unfortunately, residential conversion might not be the answer to the oversupply of office space. The duet then cascades into ruminations on the dichotomy of remote work, its efficacy, and its profound impact on the traditional office milieu. They muse upon the limitations of remote work, acknowledging the impracticality of slinging burgers or wrenching machines from the comforts of one's domicile. The future of office spaces, they surmise, hinges upon the whims and caprices of employers and their sagacity in discerning the ideal modus operandi. With discordant opinions reverberating through the air, Nash casts doubt upon San Francisco's destined fate as an office mecca, while Dan espouses the tantalizing profits that await those with the convivial rendezvous betwixt Devin, Nash and Destiny's esteemed consort, Dan, on the hallowed live stream of Destiny, brims with a kaleidoscope of ruminations on the business realm. Verily, their colloquy traverses the corridors of Elon Musk's influencer web, pondering whether he, like a Pied Piper of profitability, led other enterprises down the path of streamlining their operations and engendering heightened user engagement. The exchange delves into the shifting tides of corporate discernment, with Nash propounding the notion that a pantheon of preening project managers and lackadaisical loafers has been purged from the echelons of corporate power. Yet, amidst this paring down, the Inquisitor's news on the potential lamentable repercussions, wherein the diligent foot soldiers of industry may suffer collateral damage, leading to a lamentable diminution in the quality of A-grade output. The interaction takes an audacious leap into the quagmire of Twitter's alleged non-payment of contractual obligations and the ceaseless echoes of unpaid leases. Nash and Dan, with furrowed brows, grapple with the strategic rationale behind such actions, casting aspersions upon Twitter's mettle and the legal ramifications that may inexorably ensue from their disregard of fiscal commitments. The conversation meanders through Elon Musk's inscrutable machinations vis-a-vis Twitter, evoking contemplation on his grand design to transmute the blue bird into a profitable venture. Alas, the sages lament the dearth of publicly available metrics measuring the flock of Twitter Blue subscribers, leaving their curiosity unsatiated. The disconnection of Twitter's API, a travesty of cosmic proportions, becomes the focal point of chagrin for our interlocutors. They bemoan the irksome transition from automated campaign results to the grim realm of manual labor, like Sisyphus doomed to toil with an endless boulder. The dialogue expands, enmeshing itself in the intricate tapestry of lease non-payment and the imbroglio it begets. Nash and Dan, their visages aflame with incredulity, exclaim in unison the immutable nature of leases, wherein one must honor their financial obligations lest the specter of litigation looms large. The realm of San Francisco's real estate market beckons, tantalizing our sage companions with tantalizing prospects. The precipitous decline in office building prices incites fervor and contemplation, for it presents a promising venture with the potential quintupling of one's investment within a mere span of years. Yet, cautionary words unfurl upon the air, for the future of traditional offices hangs precariously in the balance, like a tightrope walker traversing a tempestuous abyss. The talk drifts and ventures into the labyrinthine complexities of converting office edifices into residential abodes. Nash and Dan caution against untrammeled enthusiasm, for the labyrinth of plumbing and gargantuan costs involved may render this endeavor untenable. Residential conversion, alas, may not be the panacea for the glut of office spaces. The duet then cascades into ruminations on the dichotomy of remote work, its efficacy, and its profound impact on the traditional office milieu.